Yo, what's up guys, it's me Jake here, and today I'm going to be comparing two shonens that are very popular, so I'm ready to get a lot of hate on this video. But that does not bother me. But before I even get into this video was inspired by a homie named Manga Unbox. The card for his video will be up here and link to it in the description below. He does it with Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho, and yeah, he does a really good job on it, so I want to make my own kind of twist on this. So here I am trying it, and today my two shonens that I'm going to be comparing are Jujutsu Kaisen and also Chainsaw Man. Now if you want to see what my thoughts are on both which is better, stay tuned on this video and let's just get straight into it. Now for the first one, I'm going to stick with art as the first category that I'm going to be talking about. Now for the peak of arts, I will give it to JJK. For the consistency, I'll give it to Chainsaw Man, because I think that JJK has better art when it comes to the peaks of its arc and action, but I think that when it's in that not action kind of state, it's not really that great. While Chainsaw Man, yes, I like the character designs more in JJK, has more consistent backgrounds and more consistent art in general, making me think that the Chainsaw Man art is definitely more consistent, but JJK's art has higher peaks. So it's definitely a hard thing to assess, but I would just give it to JJK, even though I really do love Tatsuki Fujimoto's art on Chainsaw Man. I cannot wait for more Chainsaw Man in the future, but I will say I have to give it to JJK for the better art, but Chainsaw Man is definitely way more consistent in that category, so it's very hard. But I might even change my mind now because of the consistency and say Chainsaw Man. But Chainsaw Man also does have some really amazing art. As time goes on, the art in Chainsaw Man does get way better. And even in the beginning, it's not even that bad. It's just when they're in action, JJK has better art. But even then, Chainsaw Man is very close in terms of art, even within action. It's just that both of them are very gritty art styles, and they're very subject to change because of a lot of things that they do. And a lot of people have different opinions because it's subjective about art, but I can see why people would pick Chainsaw Man over JJK, but for me, I'm picking JJK. And out of 10, I'd rate these both probably an 8 out of 10 in art. I think they both have really amazing art, but it's nothing that is beyond the boundary of amazing or insane. And yes, I did just put a huge thing of beyond the boundary on here, and I do not care if it's cringe. But on to the next category. The next one I'm going to be doing is pacing, and the pacing for this one has to go to Chainsaw Man. I feel like Chainsaw Man's very consistent inside of every single category, while JJK can fall in a lot of these categories because JJK's pacing can be very off at times for me, as the beginning of the Shibuya arc really just felt rushed into it, and the pacing for it was not that great. And throughout almost all the later half of JJK now, it just has these pacing issues for me that I really just don't like, while Chainsaw Man just stayed at this really fast pace from chapter 1, staying really consistent. And even those chapters where it's just like really like super high action, then they go into like one chapter that's just like slice of life for a second, it's still a fast-paced slice of life chapter that I really do enjoy. Even though I think both of them are paced pretty well, I would definitely give Chainsaw Man the top on this one, saying that Chainsaw Man's pacing is probably 9, because if you don't know, I love fast-paced series. I think fast-paced is how I like my series, but of course some slower-paced series are good in my opinion. But then I would give JJK like a 7, maybe a 6 for pacing because of the later half and how it's paced. I will say it's very much harder to kind of grasp the pacing of JJK, but I will say Chainsaw Man is very consistent in that asset. But now, on to the next category. Next I'm going to be doing is characters, and there's no way that one of these wins. It has to go to Chainsaw Man. I don't think I can really say JJK even has a chance of winning this in my opinion, because there's a lot of characters I do like in JJK, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of characters I do love in Chainsaw Man. Here are just a couple. Rezi, Aki, Denji, Power, Kobani's car. The list can go on, but for characters I love in JJK, there's only 2. Fushiguro and Gojo, and then the rest I think are good. And even now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, what about Maki with chapter 149 and 150? I think that fight was completely I don't like it. It was contrived, and I don't think it was explained too well for me. Now, I can see why people do like it. I just felt like it was really rushed in that aspect, like how the last kind of category was with pacing. I feel like that was a very rushed fight, and it was very much not explained too well in my opinion. And there's a lot of things that I didn't like about that fight that made it so I didn't like Maki as much as many people did. But Chainsaw Man really never did that. The fast pace never really took away from these characters. That's why I think the characters in Chainsaw Man are so amazing. And in that, I will give Chainsaw Man a 10 out of 10 in characters, and like a JJK, like a 7.5 to an 8 within characters. I don't think any of these categories will have either of them go below 7.5 to 7. I will say that. I don't think there's gonna be like, oh, a 3.
Yeah, that's cap. There is a score under 7. Adding JQ, just to let you guys know. That's cap, and there is a score under 7.
Don't get me wrong. I will say that both these are pretty good manga. I just think that Chainsaw Man takes the top for this one by just easily. And now on to the next one. So the next one is plot/story, and this is actually gonna be a lot of hate, but as of recent JJK, I have to give it to Chainsaw Man. I will say this, as of recent JJK, from Shibuya arc up until now, it just feels like it's trying to be like Chainsaw Man, being that, like, kind of getting more edgy and trying to have faster pace, which is leading to those pacing issues. And I think from Shibuya arc up until now, it just hasn't really been that great to me. Yes, there was a couple cool fights. Doesn't mean it helps the overall story and plot for me, because in JJK, they do kill off characters starting in the Shibuya arc. There might be character death here and there before Shibuya arc, because there is, but this is when they kill a lot more characters in the Shibuya arc. When I say this, if one of my favorite characters dies, I should feel emotion. JJK literally made it so one of my favorite characters died, and I felt nothing. I literally felt nothing. And I'm appalled that that was even happening. But then every single death in Chainsaw Man, I actually felt emotion for, and I actually felt sad. I know deaths is only plot, but that's what I'm trying to compare here, is how this story writing for Gege Akutami kind of tried becoming into a Tatsuki Fujimoto style once Shibuya arc started. I don't think it fits him or her, because we don't really know if Gege Akutami is a guy or a girl, but I would give it to Chainsaw Man overall. I think that Chainsaw Man's plot is overall more consistent and just better usually than JJK. I will say Gojo's Past is probably a peak for both of these. It's better than both of these, but other than that, I don't think that JJK is consistent enough to be over Chainsaw Man's plot and story. That's my opinion. Now I can see why other people like JJK's plot/story more. But that's my opinion on it. I think that I don't like JJK because of those assets. So that's all I have to say about it, and I'm ready for hate for that, because I know a lot of people will hate on me for that. But that's just my opinion. Everyone has different opinions, and all this is subjective. But yeah, on to the next category though. Well, I actually forgot to rate this plot/story for both these. For Chainsaw Man, I give it a solid 8.5 to 9, and for JJK, I would give it a solid 8 to 7.5, 7.5 to 8 again. That's what I would give for the ratings for those. Sorry I forgot to rate those, and now this is editing Jake noticing that I didn't even add those. So yeah, on to the next category then, and I'm sorry about that. Now, the next one I'm going to be talking about is power systems, and I'll have to give this one to JJK, because I really don't know how the power system in Chainsaw Man really is, other than the contracts with devils. It really isn't explained too much, but JJK actually has a pretty well-developed power system, even though I do have a couple critiques about this power system, like you have to be born with the curse technique, or else you just don't have one. That's one huge critique I have with My Hero, how if you're born with a crap quirk, you really just gotta stick with it and just be bad, I guess. Like, that's literally how it is. And JJK has that as well with the curse techniques, and I really don't like that. But in Chainsaw Man, you can just make a contract with a devil for time off your lifespan. I do think that's cool, but it doesn't really get in depth about it, and you don't really know too much about the contracts, and there isn't really a full-blown power system, so to say. So I'm gonna just leave that be and give this one to JJK. Then I'll actually give Chainsaw Man a 7 to 6.5 on this one, because there isn't really... Actually, I'll give it a 5. I'll give it a 5, even though I said I won't give anything under 7, purely because there isn't really a full-on power system in Chainsaw Man. But for JJK, I'll give it an 8. I think JJK's power system is pretty cool. It's very complex, and I really like those, but there's a lot of critiques I have with JJK's power system that I won't go in depth with. But I think it's a pretty good power system overall, and I do like it, so I'll give it still an 8. But yeah, that's all I have to say about power systems, and on to the next category. Now, for the next one is Antagonist. Now, this one, I really don't know how to compare, because there's more antagonists inside of JJK than there is overall in Chainsaw Man, and there's one main lead antagonist, but that appearance doesn't show up till later, even though it's hinted at a lot in Chainsaw Man. But I will say that I would give these both an 8, even though I really don't like Noritoshi Kamo from Chainsaw Man from JJK. I don't really like him that much, and I think Mahito was just a cooler character, just a better character overall. I will still give these both an 8. I have nothing else really to say other than the one antagonist in Chainsaw Man I do like way more than Noritoshi Kamo, but there's a lot of other antagonists that are really cool, like Toji. I think Toji's a sick antagonist. I love Toji a lot, and I like a lot of other characters that are in the antagonistic role, so I'll give that both an 8 because I do think a lot of the antagonists inside Chainsaw Man are also great. Like, actually that's also a spoiler, I can't even say that, but a lot of the assassins that come after Denji are really cool, and I really do enjoy their kind of powers and what they're like, but I'll give these both a solid 8, and I'll give this one a tie for both Chainsaw Man and JJK. Okay, the next one is also very hard to actually think about. That's fights, because there's a lot of fights in JJK that aren't cool at all in my opinion. There are a lot that are insanely good. While Chainsaw Man I think are all consistently really good, but I think that JJK has some better fights, but there's a lot of fights that are nearly not as good as any of the consistent, very good fights in Chainsaw Man. So, and for me, it's a really hard choice. I'll give these both an 8.5 to 9. I'll be honest, I'll beat this one as a tie as well, because one has very good fights that are probably better than Chainsaw Man, but a lot that are not as good, and this one is consistent with a lot of really good fights, so I'll have to give them a tie on that as well. But that is the final category for this video, where I'm comparing both Chainsaw Man and JJK. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I am ready for all the hates that a lot of you are probably already spamming in the comments, like, Jake, your opinions are trash, I'm unsubbing, you better get off YouTube, go KYS, and stuff like that. I'm ready for it. It does not affect me at all, because I really don't care. Be honest, it's all subjective. So if you're getting mad over someone else's opinions, that's on you. It doesn't really bother me, but that's it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and please check out that video by Manga Unbox. It's a great video. The link's in the description, like I said earlier. But yeah, that should be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope I see you guys next time. Peace!